Okay, welcome to our Year 11 students doing the bridging unit, or to all our future prospective A-level students if you're doing this bridging unit from another school. We're now going to have a look at a little guide to sort of how to annotate things. Now, for annotating, some students like to use different colour highlighter pens. Perhaps, I suppose, during revision, that's useful. Personally, I'm going to stick to one single pen of one colour, and I'm going to show you how I would use that in different ways. Highlighter pens, great. Can get a little complicated, and I think as well, as you go further with a subject like English, annotating becomes more and more a thing that you're going to do in pressured circumstances in exam conditions. And so I think that if you've got one single pen and a little technique, the likes of which I'll show you now, it makes you more streamlined and more efficient. This is very much, a study / exam skill. Other things you might need, though, when obviously not available to you in an exam, but in preparation. I got my little iPad here, or you could use a dictionary. We're bound to, in something like Virgil, come across a word, or Dante come across a word that we don't know and need to look up. Now, before we begin annotating, it's really important to think about the questions that we've got to be considering. So, just having a little look here, questions we've already been considering. Why Dante is using Virgil as his guide. Let's think about that as we go through. Why is Dante so interested in fictionalizing the setting? These were other questions to think about. We've thought about that from that first extract, the abandon hope, all who enter here quote, and that kind of, I suppose, is a sort of umbrella quote that runs through the text. And the form that Dante's chosen as well, the epic poem, and we'll have a little look at poetic structure as we go. Now, for this extract in particular, the suggestion is that we focus on how Dante uses language to create mood and atmosphere. And so I'm going to turn the screen round, and we're going to have a look at the text and get started. So here we go. Okay, so here's our text and the pen. Now, I talk about using just one pen instead of having highlighters or different colours available to you. And I think that keeps it nice and simple. That doesn't mean you can't distinguish between the sorts of notes you're making. So with the pen, obviously, you can write ideas in the margins as you go. You can underline perhaps quotations that you might want to then use in any kind of write-up. And then what I tend to do then is circle or do a different type of underline to individual words that I want to then talk about, so that I can get that word level analysis going. So before, of course, we annotate anything, if we're doing it in a revision setting rather than an exam setting, we have a read of the whole extract. And so I would suggest that you pause and read the extract before carrying on. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to read the first two stanzas for you, because I just want to show you how important it is when reading something that's in verse to read the run-on line, because I think a lot of students will read these kinds of things using the end of a line as a pause, but that's not necessarily where you pause. If a line runs on, we have to read it that way. So let's have a little look at what happens here. Dante and Virgil arriving at the burning city of Dis, which you will also come across mentions of in AS level when you do Dr. Faustus. And in fact, we'll get an appearance from Lucifer and Beelzebub in Dr. Faustus, and they will say at that point, "Thus from infernal Dis do we ascend." Notice the word infernal before that as well. So this is Dante's Inferno, it's a city, a burning city. And thus the good instructor. So that means that this is Virgil starting to talk. The good instructor is Virgil. He's taking Dante on this tour, and Virgil is the guide. Now, for those of you doing Langlit, this is known as a evocative noun, or evocative noun phrase, even because it's two words. It's any word that can replace somebody's name. So, for example, calling somebody sir, or calling somebody you by there, anything like that. These are known as vocative nouns. So here Virgil's name is replaced with the vocative noun good instructor. And thus the good instructor. Now, my son draws near the city that of Dis is named, with its grave denizens, a mighty throng. I thus. So this is Dante replying to Virgil. This is dialogue now then, isn't it? The minarets already, sir. Their certs in the valley I descry gleaming vermilion, as if they from fire had issued. Note how I read the line on there, see? He replied, eternal fire, that inward burns, shows them with ruddy flame illumed, as in this nether hell thou seest. Now, you pause and read the rest of the extract to yourself, and then once you've done with that, you can start again, press start again, and we'll get on with the annotation. Okay, so I'm assuming you've paused, read the extract, and we're back here now. Now, of course, in an exam setting, you'd have to annotate as you read the extract to save time. Okay, so, and thus the good instructor. So this is Virgil speaking. Now, my son. In fact, we've got vocative nouns here, haven't we? Because Virgil replies by calling Dante his son. Note as well the relationship between Dante and Virgil here. Relationship. It's paternal, isn't it? Connotations of son. Virgil is the guy who knows everything. Virgil is the guy who's looking after Dante as they travel through. Draws near the city that of Dis is named. Now have a think about what we've got here is inverted syntax. That of Dis is named, not the city that is named Dis. This is, of course, is to fit meter, and here in particular, this is called elision. Do you know what? You want to check my spelling of that, actually. It means the cutting out of syllables. Let's check its spelling online. Now, it's important that you see that we would ourselves, as English teachers, check spelling. I reckon it's one L, actually. Elision. Yes, one L. Okay, so elision. That's the omission of syllables. Elision. And it's to fit meter. So it's to fit the number of syllables that Virgil wants. Now that's because probably in the pronunciation at the time it would be name-ed. And so this is a good point now, a couple of lines in, to have a look and see if we can count the rhythm of this as well. And thus the good instructor, that's 3. Now my son, oh, it's 5. Draws near the city that of Dis is named, with its grave denizens a mighty throng. Yeah, it's 5. So nice and simple for those of you who studied Othello at GCSE. This is iambic pentameter. Now if we want to be really clever with iambic pentameter, you'll do this at AS. You can also keep an eye out for syllables that come to the front of the line, like draws. I can see already down there, gleaming, and that's going to draw extra stress to the front of the line. These are known as trochaic inversions. We've done that at GCSE if you're in the Othello classes. If not, look up a trochaic inversion. Very interesting. You'll see those when we move forward at AS, and we'll look at those closely. And now look at the language used here. Grave denizens, and I'm going to circle grave. Denizens mean the people who live somewhere. A mighty throng, and we've got the interesting juxtaposition here between the kind of idea that there's power in the noise these people make, but a throng is disorganized. It's mayhem, isn't it? Power and mayhem, the noise of the people in Dis. So then, of course, this is Dante replying, I thus The minarets already, sir. Minarets are the towers of a city. The little in a city that's walled, they'd be the circular bits that are sort of little mini castles. Note how he calls Virgil sir again. Certs, that actually means certain. So sometimes we just want to define something, and if we need to look something up, we need to look something up. There, for certain, in the valley I descry. Wonder if any of you know what that means. That means spot or see. I spot or see gleaming vermilion. Now vermilion is a shade of red. Gleaming vermilion. Let's circle the fronted syllable there. Gleaming vermilion. Note the emphasis on the redness, emphasis on colour here, and heat to capture the hell, and repetition of the word fire. Look, from fire, alliteration by there. Eternal fire that inward burns. We got ruddy, which means dirty. Flame, illumined, and so that's interesting. Ruddy and illumined is a juxtaposition as well, isn't it? Because to illume is to make something bright, but ruddy is to make something kind of dirty and cloudy. Nether means low down. You know, the Netherlands in Holland, it means the lowlands. Iseldiroedd in Welsh. So we got here a lexical field of heat. Don't say lexical field of fire, because we've got fire as an actual word in it. Okay, so then a fosse, that means a canyon. We came within the fosses deep, that moat the region comfortless. Now that's interesting. Moat is used as a verb here. To moat something, to surround it, and the region comfortless. Now note, that's what we call an end focus there. The word comfortless stuck on the end. There's no... Dante wants you to hear that word last in the sentence. So if you say end focus, what's the purpose of that? It means that the idea of comfortlessness is the last thing we think before the sentence breaks. The walls appeared as if they were framed of iron. There's that elision again in framed. Now, framed of iron, right, suggests industry, doesn't it? Framed is an archaic word here for to make something, to frame something. It's been designed. Industry, design. Hell is a place that has been designed, almost like intelligently, like an industrial project. We had made wide circuits, so they've gone on a long journey around. Ere, always in Old English means before, or Middle English. You'll see that in Shakespeare and Marlowe a lot. Just learn that as a word, piece of vocabulary. Ere. Ere a place so we had made a wide circuit before a place we reached, where loudly, that's an adverb, and obviously the missing syllable to fit the meter. So he's taken the syllable off so that we can get the iambic pentameter to work. The mariner cried vehement, and again that's vehemently. So we've got these adverbs where we've lost the ly, the inflection on the end of the adverbs to make it fit the meter. The mariner cried vehement. So we've got the person who's piloting their boat here says to them with passion, vehement with passion, "Go forth, the entrance is here." So they're being told to get out the boat and go into Dis. Upon the gates I spied more than 1,000 who of old from heaven were hurled. This is 1,000 people here, isn't it? Look at the language here. From heaven were hurled. I want to circle hurled and talk about that maybe if I was writing about this. The movement suggested in that verb. With ireful, that means angry. With angry gestures. "Who is this?" they cried. So these are all the people in Dis asking who Dante and Virgil are. That without death first felt. How is Dante here without dying? They think it's unfair, don't they? He has arrived without first feeling death. That without death first felt goes through the regions of the dead. Sapient, right? I'm pretty sure I know what that means. It's got some sort of human quality, isn't it? Because we know we know humans are called Homo sapien. But here we go. So we're going to look up. We're going to look that word up. Sapient. Oh, interesting. Okay, look, relating to the human species, or wise, or attempting to appear wise. Interesting. Okay, so my sapient guide made sign that he for secret parley wished. Okay, so again, we've got these heavy inverted syntax here to get it to fit the meter. So what we have here is the sapient guide. This is now Virgil, and I'm going to add here lots of very respectful language about Virgil. A sapient guide made sign that he for secret parley wished. So Virgil is asked to have a secret meeting, a parley. You know that from Pirates of the Caribbean. The secret parley wished. Virgil wants to meet and talk to the people in Dis. Whereat their angry scorn abating. So at that point, their anger, their scorn of them, gets less, abates, and the people speak and say, okay, you can come alone, but you've got to get rid of this guy Dante, who hasn't really been here, who doesn't belong in this realm. Let Dante go. Come alone, says Virgil. And Dante can go home on his own. Alone, repetition again, look. Alone return he by his witless way. Nice alliteration there. Wit means, witless means unthinking. Alone return he by his witless way. If well he know it, let him prove. So let him show that he knows the way back. For thee, here shalt thou tarry, who through climes so dark has been his escort. Tarry means wait. Here you shall wait, he says to Virgil, and you've been Dante's escort through this climb so dark. Description of hell again. We're thinking, remember, about mood and atmosphere. Dark. And then Dante finally addresses the reader. Now bethink thee, reader, what cheer was mine at the sound of those cursed words. Now interesting, the idea of cheer and cursed juxtaposition. He's happy to hear these cursed words, and he is kind of pleased to think that it means he might not have to go into Dis. This last line is ambiguous. Does it mean that he believed he was never going to get back to the land of the living? Or does it mean that he had finally seen some hope? He'd been previously thinking he wouldn't get back, and now there's a little bit of hope. Is there some hope? Mood and atmosphere in this then. What have we got? Have a look back over it and have a think about what would be the kind of overall thing in this. That opening sentence, if you were going to do an analysis, I would say, would want to look at what techniques are predominantly used and what's the general answer to the question. Mood and atmosphere. Language is used to create a very, a kind of a frightening, intimidating mood and atmosphere here, isn't it? And this is done primarily through the choices of imagery and obviously the things that the people in Dis say as well. Have a go at the harder one if you like, task 3. Good luck, and we'll see you for the next help video when you move on. All the best.